We have to protect you. We have to protect you from dissidents. We have to protect you from the free speech of others. And that's why a ban on TikTok is even now passing its way through the various systems of American government. And yet TikTok remains a vital tool in Joe Biden's propaganda arsenal. So while TikTok is being banned, unless TikTok is acquired by Meta or some other comparable entity that would obviously cudgel TikTok into the type of compliance that's required, then why is it that simultaneously Joe Biden is still, it seems one way or another, funding TikTok influencers as part of his re-election campaign? Let's have a look.
21-year-old Harry Sisson had a special view of President Biden on the night of the State of the Union address, up close and personal from the White House.
President Biden needs 4 more years in that house.
And his videos capturing behind-the-scenes moments were broadcast to more than 830,000 followers. Harry is just one of dozens of social media personalities and influencers that the Biden administration, and more importantly, the Biden campaign, is courting. From special invites to White House briefings to State of the Union watch parties, all to get out their message and the vote on platforms like TikTok and Instagram.
Folks I know in my circle, or even just friends, a lot of people are persuaded daily by stuff on TikTok. They'll see a clip of Biden or Trump saying something, and that'll change their minds.
The Biden campaign told NewsHour that they aren't currently paying influencers for their content. Recent polling shows Biden is struggling with young voters, a key part of the Democratic base. His approval with voters under 30 sitting at 30%. Now, they're trying to meet young voters where they are, on the grid.
But you know who's having a bad day? Mike Johnson and his House Republican caucus, I'll tell you why.
They're hoping that by partnering with beloved online personalities, the algorithm might work in their favor.
Mr. Speaker,
Despite the ongoing scrutiny around TikTok, the Biden campaign is cranking out viral content.
Trump or Biden?
Are you kidding? Biden.
Since their TikTok launch on Super Bowl Sunday, the campaign has been leaning in.
Look over here.
Capitalizing on pop culture moments and filming with regular people are all part of the strategy. Unvarnished, relatable, and genuine.
The president came to my house to have dinner.
Former President Obama revolutionized how once nascent social media platforms could turn out the vote. Now there are communications agencies dedicated to partnering campaigns and politicians with influencers as an integral part of their digital strategy. Only the November result will reveal whether the investment in influencers translates to votes.
This is a brilliant story because it's another opportunity for us to examine the cartilage that now exists between the state and the media, how it's possible to crush dissent and amplify powerful messaging. Like you, I was really struck by those young TikTok influencers kind of innocently conveying propaganda enthusiastically. Mike Gates is doing this. Joe Biden's fantastic. He came round my house for dinner. He's just a regular guy. Corn Pop was a son of a bitch, there's no question about it.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
So what we are finding now is that the Biden administration is in a peculiar situation of requiring the TikTok ban to be enacted, but knowing that between now and the election, they're going to have to utilize TikTok. Make no mistake about it, these kind of online independent media spaces are the difference between, I believe, along with primarily your spirit, your resolve, and your willingness to oppose, the difference between an unignorable, unavoidable, inexorable tyranny and the potential for freedom. They recognize that these spaces and these kind of conversations are leading to genuine opposition and genuine disruption. Let's just take the example of the WHO treaty. The current WHO treaty is having to be continually amended so that it can be effective and passed, even though many of us now know that the whole thing is a coup. And the WHO treaty is designed in particular and specifically to address the problems that they recognized during the pandemic. Oh no, during the pandemic, Joe Rogan was a bloody pain in the arse. He was able to bring on Robert Malone and a variety of people and dissidents and talk about health and wellness and other fascist right-wing stuff. We have to make sure that the next incarnation of the WHO treaty ensures that we will have the power to censor and control, impose global measures, and vaguely clearly describe what type of emergency we will be able to utilize to shut down people's freedoms. TikTok is one of those spaces where reporting on a variety of subjects, war, pandemics, climate change, farmers' protests, is not controlled in the manner that the state requires. Let's have a look at this in a little more detail and look at the hypocrisy and paradox around TikTok regulation and legislation. As Congress and the national security state continue their quest to ban the TikTok social media platform, President Joe Biden has been courting TikTok influencers to help him shore up youth support for his re-election. Youth support that you might imagine is in decline because a lot of people are not down with Genocide Joe's ongoing wars. While the administration has been publicly casting TikTok as a grave threat to American security, the White House has quietly hosted a number of influencers to pitch them on pro-Biden content. In recent months, some of the biggest TikTok users with accounts boasting millions of followers have visited the White House, visitor logs reveal. So it's not like TikTok is bad, it's that some TikTok is bad. The TikTok that we're not in control of is bad. Like free speech. Not all free speech is bad. Free speech that opposes our agenda is bad. Each of these TikToker meetings was coordinated by White House Deputy Director of Partnerships, Morgan McNaughton, who herself has a background with the company. She was hired last year from Palette, a social media talent management company that specializes in TikTok personalities. So Palette has become one of those pieces of cartilage that is utilized to convey propaganda. Do you have trouble sleeping or staying asleep? Perhaps because you're a busy parent or you work incredibly hard. I have to sleep well every night. I can't muck about because I have to look after my family, I have to do my job well. Now, Dream is a luxurious drink blend filled with the highest quality sleep-promoting ingredients. It will help you to fall asleep and stay asleep. This is my favourite one, peanut butter, but there are other flavours as well. Here they are. Now, you can incorporate this easily into your nighttime routine like I have done. It helps me wake up refreshed, not at all groggy like other sleep-promoting agents might. If you get a subscription, it saves you 20% every single month, not to mention you get a little free frother look. One scoop of Beam Dream is clinically shown to help you fall asleep faster, sleep through the night, and wake up fully refreshed. Visit shopbeam.com/RussellBrand. Use the code BRAND to get my exclusive discount of up to 35% off. And also, they'll know that you use this code. It'll make this advert look like a real triumph. While there, McNaughton helped found the political group TikTok for Biden. That name's a bit shit. Why don't we call it Gen Z for Change? That's what they've renamed it. Many of the TikTok users who visited the White House are themselves represented by Palette. But you can't use taxpayer money to fund TikTok influencers, can you? Well, not if you do it overtly. Palette received $200,000 in 2022 from the DNC for paid media. Federal Election Commission data reveals this. According to the Washington Post's Taylor Lorenz, Palette was paid a retainer from the DNC to cover expenses for 8 TikTok creators to travel to Washington in hopes of wooing them in the run-up to the midterm elections, resulting in an Oval Office meeting with Biden. So what they've acknowledged is that TikTok is effective in reaching certain demographics, presumably by their reckoning, young people. So they're trying to populate TikTok with influencers that are sympathetic and indeed paid to be sympathetic to their perspective while simultaneously banning TikTok. That's kind of crazy. That's a little bit like paying to build a pier in Gaza while facilitating the bombing of Gaza. What kind of topsy-turvy, amoral, crazy, godless world are they trying to midwife us into? Though the Biden administration has directly consulted on the creation of the legislation that could ban TikTok, the Biden campaign has embraced the app, creating an official account. Nearly half of the US population uses TikTok. It's the most downloaded app in the country and the world. Lawmakers are citing data privacy, which we know they care a great deal about, national security, which of course is an extraordinary priority for them, as primary concerns behind the ban. But others have been more explicit. They are worried about how the app is influencing Americans' political views, particularly among young voters. Discussion of the TikTok ban in Congress has been rife with red baiting and anti-Chinese fear-mongering. Senator Mark Warner, a Virginia Democrat, referred to TikTok as a communist propaganda tool. And Senator Pete Ricketts said, pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas hashtags are generating 50 times the views on TikTok right now. These videos have more reach than the top 10 US news websites combined. This is not a coincidence. Then he goes on to say, extraordinarily, the Chinese Communist Party is doing this on purpose. But this is the problem that they face in general with social media and independent media's use of social media sites. It's impossible now to prevent alternative narratives, opposition narratives, dissident narratives, inquiring, questioning narratives, new alliances emerging. So what's required is a topsy-turvy, bizarre set of legislature and incentives that are directly at odds with each other. We need a bunch of TikTok influencers, fresh-faced Gen Z for Biden. We need these kids. Meanwhile, can you get rid of TikTok? It's killing people. The truth behind it, of course, is that they're acknowledging now that we don't need the legacy media, that we've realized that the legacy media is unreliable, untrustworthy, a tool of the establishment. If that wasn't evident to you in that bizarre gala the other day, where there was backslapping and fist pumping and celebration of freedom while Julian Assange remains in prison, while Gonzalo Lira died in prison, while it's plain and obvious that the legacy media functions primarily as a tool of the state and of globalist corporatist interests. Just think for a moment how they behaved in the pandemic. They're out of control. And we've realized it. We've awakened from the illusion. The scales have fallen. The web they've spun before us has been broken. And now they're panicking. Indeed, these are the end times. There's no concrete evidence supporting the idea that political ideas shared on TikTok are more progressive or more pro-Palestinian than what you find on other platforms, or that it skews more progressive than the overall population, with nearly 70% of voters now supporting a ceasefire in Gaza. When 70% of people just don't want war anymore, it's very difficult to prevent that kind of truth reaching the mainstream. The truth is, the jig is up. The truth is, people have had enough. The truth is, people are ready now for change. The US government's desire to ban TikTok instead of taking industry-wide action is a good indication that its campaign isn't really about national security or data protection, Paris Marx points out, but something much deeper, namely the preservation of American economic and geopolitical hegemony. Oh, that's what it is. They are banning TikTok because they need to control the narrative. They need to control your consciousness, your mind, your freedom, your ability to make choices is a problem for them. You are their enemy. You are a terrorist now. That's why the meaning of language is being inverted. That's why suddenly everything from drinking milk to farming to doing push-ups is considered right-wing, because you are being criminalized. I am being criminalized. Dissent, opposition are all being criminalized. But is there anyone that benefits from the TikTok ban? Let's think real hard now. Meta Platforms and its subsidiaries spent a record high $7.6 million on lobbying the federal government in the first quarter of the year as the US Congress advanced legislation that could ban Instagram's chief competitor, TikTok. Wow, I wonder who will end up benefiting from TikTok's forced sale or foreclosure. Could it be social media sites that are compliant? Social media sites that were willing to let the FBI and the CIA infiltrate, as they plainly have been within legacy media for many years.
Establishment, asked for a bunch of things to be censored that in retrospect ended up being more debatable or true.
You know about Operation Mockingbird. Do you want us to do an exclusive video on Operation Mockingbird? We'll do it, baby. We're crazy enough to do it. So you're funding this chaos. You're funding these unpopular wars. You're funding them buying the influence of TikTok influencers from Gen Z, all the while banning TikTok precisely because your freedom is their problem, precisely because your awakening is something they have to oppose. For me, this is borderline satanic, Luciferian madness. We have to have an awakening. We have to remain discerning. We have to be able to communicate freely wherever that is possible. So look at what platforms you're using to watch our content. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the chat, you